Recording in progress. get that. Let me know what that looks like. I want to connect that to the laptop. You know what I mean? We don't need that when we do one-on-one because you're not. You have the things on it. Bed by 8 o'clock last night in Ardell. Anyway. If you could start working on that Go High level proposal. The first Sunday in May, and the third Sunday in May. Somebody I jumped on a call with one fellow. And like, oh, you don't have a message. How many can you do? You're done. Come on that Saturday. That's 4 right there. We're still doing 4. set me a lead in the last year. No, no, but it was fun. The people on here that are obsessed, they don't have anything else going on. They must not. Good morning, everyone. This is Joe Scarice, your co-host and co-founder of the Creative Birth Strategies podcast, live every first and third Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Clubhouse, as well as live here on Facebook, YouTube, and soon to be LinkedIn, hopefully in the next little bit. Let's invite some peeps in here and get rocking and rolling in just a few minutes. Had a great class yesterday in white label underwriting course. It was really great. We had great students in there. We were there pumping out content and information with so many people. We didn't get out of there till 3 o'clock. We started sharp at 9. I think we took one lunch break and we just pounded out a lot of information to get people very proficient, whether they want to broker loans, they want to be a referral partner. It was just great. It was just a great experience. There's a lot of camaraderie. We have our next class is, I think it's May 12th in Philadelphia, which will be a lot of fun. I think it'll be a full house as well. We do have another scheduled cigar for real estate closers in Lehigh Valley in June on the 10th. We're probably going to also have one in Philadelphia the last Monday in June. I'll be putting that together today. I'm pretty excited about that as well. So welcome back to the Creative Birth Strategies podcast. Like I said, first and third Sundays of every month, we provide education, networking, and strategy for real estate investors. And I'm a nationwide direct private lender. I have some really great announcements coming up. I just opened up my own warehouse line where I will be funding my own bridge loans into DSCR, whether it's 1 to 4 or 5+ units. Our bridge money is now starting at around between 8 and 9% interest only, so it's extremely competitive. And our DSCR rates are probably hovering somewhere between 6.25% and 6.5% right now for refinance or purchase. So Great stuff there. On ground up construction, we're probably somewhere, I'd say between 9.5 on ground up construction. Multifamily, 5+ unit value add, we're in the single digits, probably high nines right now. Interest only. Our leverage is very competitive. We're going up to 95% on purchase, 100% on construction. On the refi side and DSCR side, we're going up to 80% on refinance, and we're going to up to 80% on purchase. We were going 85% a little bit, but things kind of tapered off a little bit on leverage on the purchase side for DSCR. On 5+ units, we're capped at 75% loan to value on purchase and or refinance. So, we're going to break down some real strategies, for serious investors building out wealth through real estate today. Today, we're going to be diving into a concept that separates casual investors from professionals, building your buy box. If you don't know exactly where you're looking for, you're going into missed deals, wasted time, and leaving money on the table. So we're going to get into a very clear and how to define, refine, actually use it to scale. And before we jump in, I always want to thank our co-host, Mr. Yardell Perkins, who is always, the support mechanism to this entire podcast. We reach, believe it or not, we don't get a large crowd on here on Clubhouse, and we're okay with that. But we get thousands of downloads to follow, and we have a great website at creativebirdstrategies.com. All 150 plus episodes that are on there. We've hit almost 20,000 downloads on our website, which is pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about that as well. I'm just making some moderators, inviting some people up. Also want to thank our moderators, as always. Everyone's tuning in here and supporting the show, but these guys and gals are consistently on here as well. Whether you're listening in live or catching the replay, we really appreciate you being part of this growing community and serious investors. So let's get into it a little bit. Let's talk about the market this past week. Quick update on what's happening in the real estate investor and mortgage market right now, because directly impacting how you should be building your buy box. As of Friday, and things could change on because I saw some announcements on an article here that Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz, citing U.S. Blockade. So we're going to see how that impacts. But oil has been dropping significantly. So, the 30-year mortgage is sitting right around the mid 6% range, roughly 6.3 to 6.4. I'm seeing about 6.2 to 6.375 right now on refinance or purchase. And while that's down from the peaks we saw in 23, it's still significantly higher than the sub 3% era a lot of investors got used to. So because of that affordability, it's still tight. In fact, the average mortgage payment in the U.S. has now crossed over $2,000 a month for the first time ever, which is pricing a lot of buyers out, especially first-time buyers. So now here's where it gets very interesting for real estate investors. We're starting to see more inventory slowing down, slowly coming back to the market, and sales activity is picking up a bit, but it's uneven. Higher-end properties are moving more, while entry-level housing is still tight, creating that what is a lot of economists are calling a split market. Some even think it's a pre-recessionary market. At the same time, prices aren't skyrocketing like they once were. They're flattening or growing slowly, which is actually creating opportunities for investors who know how to buy right. And looking ahead, most projections say rates may gradually ease later this year. You got the new Fed chair coming in May. We get the Strait of Hormuz strained out. We're going to see oil dropping. Okay, so I think there's going to be a big opportunity. And looking ahead, most projections say rates may gradually ease later this year, potentially dipping closer to the high 5% range, which could bring more buyers back into the market, increase competition again. So what does that all mean? We're in a transitional market, not a crash, not a boom, but a window where strategy matters more than ever. And that's exactly why today's conversation about building your buy box is important. So quick couple articles that caught my eye, and I will post these up on my LinkedIn and my Facebook. Renters have the affordability edge over home buyers right now. And I'm seeing that in all the urban settings throughout the country. Rents are compressing, okay? And there's a lack of better in renters than ever before. Getting quality renters is extremely important. I will post that article up if I have not already, but I'll make sure it goes up again. I did put a ranking, and I did a video to this. And if you're connected with me on LinkedIn or Facebook or TikTok or Instagram, I did rank the best and worst states for renters in today's market and went into detail. Another great article. Really thought that was interesting. Some markets that caught my eye, especially with the states offering renters the best options. Utah, very hot market right now. Colorado, Minnesota, North Dakota, and Wyoming. The tougher markets right now, let's see here, Florida, Arizona, New Mexico, Hawaii, Massachusetts. I could even say New Jersey or Pennsylvania is probably in there as well, New York State. But again, the quality renters are very tough to identify right now. And like I said, 15 hours ago, Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz again, citing U.S. blockade. Like to see how the market react. The market rallied very heavy on Friday, so it'll be interesting to watch where that goes. So building your buy box. And before we go, I want to thank, I got Yardell Perkins on here. Yardell, good morning. Thanks for coming on just to say hello, kind of give your insight real quick, and then we'll dive into our subject today. Yardell going once. There you go. Yep. And a big announcement for Yardell and myself. We are putting together a really great proposal for our Go High Level and text messaging campaigns for a couple groups right now. Very excited about where that's going to go, and that's going to tie into some of the new announcements I'm making going into next month. Opening of my own warehouse line with ownership and pricing drop on all my programs across the board. So I'm very excited about this. So, and Yardell's been a great piece of that with the social media background, his friendship, his association with the podcast as a co-founder. 2 years and 150 plus episodes and almost 20,000 downloads. Who would have thought? We started this as kind of a funny little thing to keep ourselves busy during COVID, and we've taken it to hopefully the next level. We're doing some one-on-one interviews as well as our offices in Philadelphia. So discussing building your buy box today is basically how serious investors stop chasing deals and start filtering them. Without one, you're reacting to the market. With one, you're running the system. How are experienced investors approaching it, and where a lot of people are getting it wrong. What is a buy box actually? Your buy box is a strict criteria that defines what you will and won't buy, your investment identity, your deal filter, your risk control system. If the deal doesn't fit, you pass, no exceptions. Defining your strategy first. Most people skip this. Common serious investor strategies: cash flow, appreciation, BRRRR, fix and flip, midterm rentals, short-term rentals. What are you going to focus on? Locking in on your market and staying there. Serious investors don't buy anywhere with a deal. They go deep, not wide. City, neighborhood, zip codes. If you learn pricing instantly, why this matters? You learn pricing instantly. You spot deals faster than competitors. You reduce risk dramatically. Property type constraints. Be very specific. Single family, duplex, triplex, row home versus detached, condo versus townhome, mixed use. Then add what type of bed and bath minimums are you looking at? Square footage range, your year built, optional on that, but not, something definitely useful for rehab risk. And then what's your financial buy box? Purchase price range, rehab range, minimum returns, monthly cash flow target, all in cost ceiling. And then some of the risk filters that are highly overlooked. This is what protects your long term: crime threshold, flood zones, tenant class you're willing to manage, school district if relevant, and property condition limits. And then you got to have an exit strategy alignment. How do you make money if things don't go perfectly? Can I rent long term if STR fails? Can I refinance out into a BRRRR? Is resale demand strong? If you don't have multiple exits, it's not a strong buy box deal. Then there's financing constraints. Your buy box should reflect reality. Loan type, DSCR, conventional hard money, down payment limits, liquidity constraints. A lot of investors build fantasy buy boxes that don't match up their financing. Example: strong buy box, the market, the property type, the price point, the rehab cost, the strategy, your cash flow every month, your cash on cash return, your exit. Like, what's your risk filters? Then maybe create multiple buy boxes: cash flow box, appreciation play, quick flip, maybe a dynamic buy box, interest rates, rent trends, inventory levels, but not emotionally, only based on data. Deal kill criteria, foundation issues, bad block even if numbers work, layout problems, functional obsolescence. This saves massive amount of time. And then there's the biggest mistakes to avoid: being too broad, anything under a market value, ignoring management realities, chasing appreciation without cash flow backup, not sticking to your own rules, letting emotions override. Bottom line, a strong buy box does one thing: it turns real estate from guessing into repeatable systems. So we got some great moderators on here to kind of give us some reflection. We're going to go to Rochester, New York, Mr. Brian Guth. Good morning. Welcome. Brief overview: who you are, what you do, and thoughts to building your buy box for serious real estate investors. Great to see you. It's been a minute. Um, I'll be actually up in Rochester this month. I'll be in Syracuse and Rochester. I'm coming to the Rochester RIA as an attendee. Nice. Yeah, so I'm teaching for a KW office CE on Wednesday, and then going to the Syracuse event Wednesday night. Then I'm just going to. I mean, it's just another extra hour ride to get to Rochester. So definitely going to be up this month. How Syracuse is doing quite well. Binghamton's doing quite well. Albany's doing quite well. I'm going to be in Albany tomorrow as well. I haven't been up to Buffalo, but Buffalo's numbers are very strong. Rochester was a very prolific market for quite a few years. Where is it at with the landlord and government and tenant landlord relationships? Why is that not as shining as the others right now?
Yeah, that's a good call out. They passed, so in the state of New York, there's a thing called good cause eviction. It's basically
Rochester was in the top 25 to buy for investors, small balance multifamily, single family, four family for it's got to be 20 years, like 15, 20 years. And then all of a sudden, there's nothing nothing being said about it anymore. And then obviously I was a member for a while, as you know, and a lot of disgruntlement, I was saying, but like I see a lot of positive activity in that Syracuse market. That Binghamton market, it's a sleeper, but it's coming around, which is quite interesting. That's why I'm visiting those areas a little more, probably every other month now, because the Albany RIA, I went to the Albany RIA, Brian. They had 125 people at that event. It was packed, packed. I mean, it was actually too packed for the room, but they're doing quite well up there. I mean, considering what's going on in the market, I guess the barrier of entry is still very enticing in those markets for the New York City buyers that want to stay within the state. You know what I mean?
that is 100% true. I see that a lot with New York City buyers and kind of saying, "Oh, let's go. You'll go up there and they'll here it's right. Oh, my five.
Stick with it. And then Brian brought up a couple good points, especially on cash flow. Do you really understand cash flow per month versus cash on cash return? Okay, so you really need to understand those metrics. Okay, cash on cash return is more of a percentage on your return. cash invested based on cash invested, where the cash flow is what you're netting in your pocket every month. And for the newer investor, if I was going to create my buy box, go back 25 years as a new investor, 30 years, I'd probably be very, very focused on cash flow more than a cash on cash return. If I because the BRRRR strategy is a little more enticing for the new investor for a light and medium and or rehab, because they could potentially get all their money out and they're getting immediate cash flow on the asset without having any or some money in the deal still on the refinance. Okay. And I suggest for the newer investor versus the more experienced investor, stay focused on low to medium rehab, not these full gut to the studs. If you're buying something for 100, a renovation shouldn't be $150,000 if you're a new investor. If you're buying something for 100, keep it at 50 grand or under, because that's controllable to get to the refinance. Your failure rate goes much higher if that percentage goes above there. And then odds are that appraisal should come in at that 250 mark, 240 mark, where you're capturing at least everything you have into the deal, refinancing and making X amount of dollars net per month on that first asset rehab. And do that a couple times, because you got to get used to this before you start experimenting. Like Brian talked about adding a bathroom, right? Well, adding a bathroom, if you don't add, if you have to add the bathroom in the basement, you got to finish the basement. That's a whole different experience from just remodeling a bathroom. Okay, so there's different ways to look at cash flow, common sense, and investment, especially when it comes to a buy box. Bob, good morning and welcome. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, and thoughts to our discussion this morning, building your buy box for serious real estate investors.
Hi, Joe. So name's Bob Chesek with Chesek Corporation, some operations and offices, real estate.
now going on 16 years, 17 years now. Just I keep referring him people, which is great because I get great results. I just referred him somebody. I think just this morning, somebody was looking to create an LLC, but he stays on top of it. My clients love it. I get great feedback, and that's about building your power team. Your power team is not always a referral source. It's also a team that allows you to build your brand out to be the go-to person in your space. Okay, so it's not always about referral. It's sometimes about looking intelligent with a strong group representing a team for other people. Like for me, it's real estate investors, real estate developers, real estate professionals. Having somebody like Bob and other strong teammates in that real estate team is so important in this space more than ever. And that ties back into the buy box. If you don't have a strong team supporting you, your buy box is going to be weak when you're looking for either direction, advisory, mentoring, coaching, etc. Stephen, good morning and welcome. Thank you for your patience. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, and thoughts to our discussion this morning, building your buy box for serious real estate investors. You're up in the Northeast region, and this is a question I'll also provide to Brian once you give your answer. Why is there a limited amount of real estate investor monthly networking groups in your market where you're at a 50-50 range of consumer and investor buying real estate in your market? Like, why is there only one event now a month up there to support a team, like a team of experts for somebody's buy box that's coming out of state or out of area to buy properties? What's going on there that I'm missing? There's literally one event a month now.
So okay, so I haven't looked in a while because I've been doing this apps and stuff. I don't understand.
Wyoming Valley, that's it. There's nothing else. Great, because I think that there's a lack, and there's so much opportunity there. So I appreciate that, Stephen, and we'll definitely catch up this week. Us that Freedom First is like the only game in town in Rochester. What am I missing?
No, I think that
Did see something pop up that was outside of Freedom First, and then I try to track it down, but there's only so many things you can go to in one in 1 week. I mean, listen, if I could cut myself into three pieces, I could be at three events a night, literally, if I wanted to be in three different markets. It's quite humorous if you think about it. Thank you as always, Brian. So we got a new guest up here that raised his hand to come up. Darren, good morning and welcome. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, and statement or question regarding building your buy box for serious real estate investors.
Good morning.
Morning, Darren. For a little glitch, but I wanted to follow up with Darren's discussion about code of enforcement. Can either quietly erode an investor's return or become a competitive advantage if you know how to navigate it. So, Darren, thank you, but I don't know what happened there, so we'll figure that out. For serious real estate investors, code enforcement is not just a compliance issue, it affects acquisition risk, rehab scope, carrying costs, tenant relations, insurance exposure, financing, and exit strategy. And why code enforcement matters to investors: deferred maintenance, seller distress, hidden rehab costs, unsafe occupancy conditions, permitting problems, title and closing complications. Leverage and negotiation. A property with violations is not automatically a bad deal. It's usually just a deal that requires sharper underwriting. And what code enforcement usually covers is structural issues, electrical or plumbing effects, roof and exterior failures, trash and debris, illegal units or conversions, occupancy violations, missing permits, safety hazards. So, like, really, at the end of the day, Darren was pretty spot on with the necessity of being Court enforcement is not just a headache for investors, it is a filter. Handled poorly, it could destroy your margins. Handled well, it'll help you find discounts, avoid bad deals, and operating more professionally than the competition. The best investors at identifying buy box do not avoid every code issue. They avoid the ones they do not understand. So you really need to understand one, your buy box. And as Darren was saying, you got to know your code enforcement. Apologize about what happened here, Darren. I'm not really sure. I don't typically control the guest up top on the
I'm trying to bring them.
yeah. Okay. Thank you, Bob. So, Darren, we'll get you another time on the next round of another great discussion, and thank you for your insight. So, I think Darren was spot on, because if you come in as a new investor or experienced as an investor and you identify buy box, you better know your code enforcement, or you could run into a lot of problems like what Stephen was discussing, Brian was discussing as well. Good morning, Linda. Welcome. Long time no see. Brief overview who you are, what you do, and thoughts to our discussion, building your buy box for serious real estate investors.
Joseph, good morning, real estate investors. So nice to have everyone here today and see everyone's photos. I'm Linda Plinagas from realty411.com. We produce virtual events, live events, magazines, podcasts, all in an effort to help investors on their journey. Just wanted to come in and support your show, Joseph. You do an amazing job every week and had some great tips from Steve and Darren. They shared some incredible information. So more than anything, I just wanted to come and say hello and support you and just tell everyone what a great job you're doing. And as far as the buy box, I'm all about numbers. Just do your numbers, redo your numbers, and then add on extra as a cushion, because right now things are skyrocketing. The prices at Home Depot are just surging. Labor costs, my goodness, they're going up like crazy. I just got some estimates for a unit that needs to be rehabbed, and literally the estimate for the paint and the flooring, it pretty much like doubled to tripled from the last time that I got the estimate. And I was in shock when I got the estimate from my vendors. And I've known these people a long time. So, I asked them point blank, I'm like, what the heck? Why is this price so outrageous? And both of them told me the labor costs are going up, the cost of equipment, the cost of material and supplies, like everything is surging. So when you do your numbers right now, keep that in mind and please put an extra cushion so you don't get into trouble and you're not surprised at the end or during the rehab process. Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you, Linda. And Linda, I know obviously you're West Coast. Concentrate. What's your thoughts? With California, it's getting a lot of bad rap right now. How is that impacting the real estate investor?
So we've always gotten a bad rap due to the extreme politics here and the people and all the different ideas. Yeah, I mean, California is a very unique place in the continental U.S. and so things are definitely first here before they hit any other place. That's one good thing is that whatever happens, it's going to happen here before it happens anywhere. So I don't know that my dog dynamic anymore. I think it's because prices are so high, so we're seeing a lot of inventory on the market because the buyers are not being replaced by new buyers. Those are my thoughts on why properties are sitting on the market and we're not seeing as many buyers as we had before traditionally.
Yeah, and my thought with California is that even if you try to rent some of this inventory that's sitting out there, it doesn't even cash flow. So you're upside down either way as a seller on some of these properties. So it's a double whammy in that state from a cash flow perspective, or even any kind of cash on cash return. It's all about equity in California, from my thoughts.
Yes, it is very expensive, and I'll be honest with you. A lot of the people that buy, especially first-time home buyers here in California, they're putting an enormous amount of down payment um, on the table. They're coming in with hundreds of thousands of dollars. And a lot of that money is coming from inheritance. They passed away.
Linda's been helping me as we develop out this warehouse line that I took ownership on. So I'll be making some great announcements for a team that I established out on the West Coast, and Linda's going to be working with them hopefully in the immediate future. So thank you for coming on this morning, Linda. You know, my thoughts here on building your buy box for serious real estate investors. If you're thinking about the buy box, it's less of a checklist, but more of a decision engine. The people who are scaling aren't just picking criteria. Even a West Coast California investor, they're looking into markets that make sense for them for cash on cash reserve. They're building a filter that protects their time, their capital, and their emotional discipline. Precision beats flexibility. Your buy box should match your strategy, not trends. It must be data backed, not opinion based. The buy box is a living system. Speed is a hidden advantage. Protect your downside, not just chase upside, because most investors focus on max returns. The best ones ask, what happens if my rents drop 10 to 15%? What if vacancy doubles? Can this still survive with higher debt costs? If I pulled permits, what is the tax assessor going to do with my yearly taxes on that property? A real buy box includes failure scenarios, not just best case scenarios or projections. Your buy box is your identity as an investor. It defines what you don't do just as much as what you do. The tighter and more intentional it is, the faster and safer you scale. These are just some of my thoughts, and I'd love to get a final thought from Brian, brief final thought to building your buy box for serious real estate investors.
Yeah, we talked a lot of good stuff on here. I think going along with it, like obviously we can talk high level. Sometimes you need to get granular. Like find a mentor. That's good to chat with. Have a full conversation with someone. Take someone out to lunch to talk about your specific scenario. For all different levels. Like having the buy box is great. I talk in general great strategies. Talk to someone one on one who's good.
Thank you. And Bob, your final thoughts to building your buy box. Bob? Bob going once? Bob going twice? Linda, your final thoughts to building your buy box. There you go, Bob. It's okay. Final thoughts? So as always, Brian, thank you as well. Linda, your final thought to building your buy box.
Don't get discouraged, investors. If you're not finding deals in your own backyard, go out an hour away, a couple of hours away, do research outside of your market. You don't have to get into a plane and drive, fly to another state. Maybe just driving a couple of hours away can open up a whole new wide range of possibilities and opportunities for you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Yes, excellent finish off to this discussion this morning. I think it's necessary to create that team of experts wherever you're buying. I think that is so key. Your go-to people. Like in my discussion yesterday on the underwriting class we were having, the white label course, one of the young ladies who runs a group for new and real estate investors called Jumpstart Lehigh Valley, right? She goes, Joe, I need a really good insurance agent that understands builder's risk. I said, that is one of the most important pieces to the pie here. I made an immediate introduction to somebody in my team because one, he's going to be reactive and proactive at the same time in assisting her needs on the builder's risk for rehab, for BRRRR, fix to flip. But another thing is that he's been in the industry 30 years. And he's very savvy about understanding what the investor's needs are in that buy box. So like I immediately made that introduction because he's part of my team. I've leveraged him with a lot of real estate investors over the last 16 years. So like, why would I keep re-leveraging him? So I think it's very important for any real estate professional listening below. The buy box is only as good as your team of experts, and your team of experts are only as good for your buy box. So you really need to look around and who are you surrounding yourself with in scaling and identifying opportunities, not just for yourself, but for your client base, meaning the real estate investor, the real estate developer. This is very important to think about, especially if you're a licensed real estate agent and this is all you do, and you're working with real estate investors half the time and half the time with home buyers. The investor wants to feel confident that you understand their buy box and understand how to underwrite a deal. You need to be a better underwriter for the deals because not every deal that you think is a deal fits the buy box of your investor. And that's my final thoughts to that. I want to thank everybody this morning. I want to thank Yordell Perkins, Bob, Stephen, Brian, Linda. Great moderation, great content, discussing building your buy box. We're here now every first and third Sunday of the morning on Clubhouse as well as on our podcast, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, providing education, network, and strategy. Reach out to us. My call to action for you is, why haven't we had a one-on-one conversation to impact your bottom line as a real estate professional or a real estate investor? And my quote this morning, 100% failure, 100% necessary. That's how greatness is built. Everybody have a great Sunday morning. Have a great week. We'll see you first Sunday in May, and be blessed. And I'll be ending the room in the next 30 seconds. Thank you.
Recording